What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael and welcome to FudgeMuppet. Today we're going to be entering the lands of Cyrodiil to explore the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, the game that started my Elder Scrolls journey all the way back in 2006. Whether I was being wrapped up in an immersive faction storyline like the Dark Brotherhood or doing the bidding of a daedric prince, it just felt like I had a stream of never-ending adventure at my fingertips. Today, however, we're going to look solely at the side quests, meaning no faction or main plot involvement nor any daedric shrine quests. I'm also not including DLC. The side quests we look at today are the most organic farm-to-table options on offer, the ones you pick up in cities from a random NPC or fall into completely by accident. I also kept side quest chains among the contenders, those that have a single quest arc split into separately named parts, but the story is the same one from start to end. I also replayed every single side quest in Oblivion before making this subjective list to get a more recent idea of each one while still considering the fun I had playing them for the first time, where things like surprise factor were more impactful. That said, it was still hard to choose just 5, and while I'm sure you'll agree these quests were great, I'd love to read your own rankings in the comments below. Speaking of surprise factor, an unexpected voyage comes sailing into position number 5. To level up in Oblivion, you had to sleep, which often meant going into taverns or inns you might otherwise miss. Well, when staying at the Bloated Float Inn in the Imperial Waterfront District, you end up getting more of a sailor's atmosphere than you paid for. The inn runs out of a docked ship, and after sleeping here, you wake up to find the ship has been hijacked. A bandit group has taken over, and you come face to face with one of them when you first leave your room.
Hey, who in Oblivion are you? You don't look like one of the Blackwater brigands.
When meeting the various criminals on the ship, you'll be able to gather useful information from their dialogue, allowing you to say the most strategic things later on. Saying you're a passenger, Lynch reveals that the bouncer is locked in the storage room, and that a female accomplice has the boat's owner. After lying that you're part of the gang, he drops that their group was formed 3 months ago. In the end, you must kill Lynch, taking the key from his body to free Griman Grimara, the bouncer, who plans to steer the ship home once the coast is clear. Lynch carries a note that says not to disturb Minx, and says that they'll all meet back in Breville in 3 days after they sink the ship. Going up to the main deck, you meet Minx.
Oh, there. Where do you think you're going? Celine's not going to like this one bit. I wasn't to be disturbed.
You'll want to say that Lynch sent you to assist Celine, as being there to assist Minx is an obvious lie going against the instructions from Lynch's note. This makes Minx reveal that Celine has Ormil, the innkeeper, in his cabin. Ultimately, you must fight, and after defeating her, you take her key to access the top deck. Here it becomes extremely clear how far out to sea the ship is. I love when quests take you somewhere you didn't expect, and I'd love to see this happen more in the Elder Scrolls 6.
What are you doing up here? They find the Golden Galleon yet?
Wrath is not the smartest bandit, managing to bring up both their plan to divvy up the loot in their Breville safe house, as well as the fact that they're searching for a mysterious golden galleon, so long as you choose the right dialogue. This also leads to a fight to the death, after which you can take the final key, tell Griman that he's safe to head to the top deck, and then enter the captain's cabin where Ormil is being held.
How'd you get in here?
Fighting Celine can be somewhat challenging depending on your level, mainly because her enchanted sword, the Blackwater Blade, has a potent Absorb Fatigue enchantment which can cause you to fall over repeatedly if the stat falls below 0. However, if you choose all the right dialogue choices, you won't have to fight her. You'll want to explain that you took the key from Wrath and that you're here to join their gang. You tell her the group made their pact together 3 months ago and that their plan is to find the Golden Galleon on the ship. She's flustered but says once the brigands escape, they'll go to their safe house where no one will find them. Revealing that you know the safe house is in Breville, she demands you tell her how you got past the rest of her crew, to which you reply, "I've killed all of them."
Impossible. You defeated the 3 of them alone? I'm humbled by your skill, and fear that assaulting you would lead to my own quick demise. Please accept my surrender. Here's my blade. Please, no treasure is worth my life. The Bloated Float is yours.
After escorting her to the lower deck to be locked up, Ormel explains that he foolishly made up a rumor of a solid gold statuette of a ship known as the Golden Galleon. It was said to be hidden on board, but it seems he reeled in the wrong kind of business. After sleeping, you wake up back in the Imperial City, Ormel gives you your gold, and you can even go see Celine in the Imperial City prison if you so choose. In spot number 4, we have another surprise factor quest, where spirits have lease. It begins by speaking to a man named Velwyn Benerus, found in one of Anvil's upper-class drinking establishments, the Count's Arms, or you might hear rumors that he's trying to sell his family manor. Another specific rumor you can hear, but I usually don't, is an NPC saying that they think they heard a scream from inside when walking by at night. Velwyn is quite keen to toss away this sizable manor located down near the chapel area, citing pressing matters elsewhere that he needs to attend to as the reason behind the quick sale asking price. There's no home inspections, but for 5,000 gold you can't help but scoop it up. After handing over the key, he heads off and we head on down to our new suspiciously cheap home. Unsurprisingly, the place is a dump, but it's still cheap even considering any renovation costs, but perhaps you should get some sleep and start fixing it tomorrow, though you might end up making a new scream for the citizens to gossip about. While resting, you awake to a group of Benerus Manor ghosts in your bedroom. They're all over the house, the haunted house you've just paid Velwyn for. Like any competent adventurer surrounded by ghosts, you slay these spirits and rush for the exit, but before leaving, there's a smashed vase on the floor, alongside a lit candle, a skeletal hand, and what appears to be a note, both of which you'll want to pick up. This diary scrap belongs to Lorgren Benerus, Velwyn's grandfather. Reading along, you learn that Lorgren carried a bitter hatred towards the people of Anvil and their criticism towards him. It's clear that he has fallen into the darkest teachings of necromancy, using a special tome which states he needs more bodies, and therefore more souls he can use to prolong his life. Lorgren's writing explains that he constructed a secret room in the manor's basement, where he plans to transcend from his mortal body into a new plane of existence. In the event that a descendant attempts to carry on in his footsteps, the room can be opened by a true-blooded Benerus. It turns out the ghosts who tried to kill you are harnessed spirits from the bodies Lorgren has defiled in his necromantic pursuits, made to guard the manor and his secret lair forever. His diary ends by saying all of Anvil will lay in waste around him, with the corpses of those who ridicule him littering the streets and their blood dampening the earth. What an intense predicament to find yourself in. By the sounds of it, there's a necromancer hidden beneath the house you just paid 5,000 septims for, ready to rise up and massacre the Colovian Harbour City above. You better track down Velwyn and his Benerus blood fast. The bartender in the inn you met him in explains that he immediately left for the Imperial City, where you can go and discover that he's staying at the King and Queen Tavern in the Elven Gardens district. As you might expect, it turns out Velwyn knew the place was cursed. He wanted to get rid of it to move to the Imperial City with his family. No wonder he tossed it on your lap so cheaply. As long as you bring the diary scrap, Velwyn can be convinced to help. If not, he claims it isn't his problem. So when you confront him with the reality of the situation and the diary entries, and then he suddenly acts as if his wrongdoings have become more apparent and that he feels guilty, you know he's full of it. Velwyn explains that Lorgren was even digging up the recently deceased in the crypts under the cathedral. A high elf mage named Carahil, who is currently the Anvil Mages Guild leader, actually led the guild against Lorgren in her youth, though he mysteriously disappeared as he was slain. Realizing his blood is needed, Velwyn agrees to meet you back in Anvil, where you enter the manor together, fighting the ghosts and making your way down to the magical door in the basement. After Velwyn begins to touch the arcane symbols on the wall, a mechanical device activates and the secret room opens. There's a few secret doors in Oblivion, but this is definitely one of the coolest. Velwyn then flees in fear as you enter this secret necromancer lair. The Tome of Unlife from Lorgren's diary is on a table ahead, but more importantly, you find the skeleton of Lorgren Benerus on an altar. Touching it causes his voice to boom out, pleading that you rejoin his skeletal hand which you found earlier to his body. He claims that Carahil slaying him was justified, and now he simply wants a chance to atone for his sins and for you to end his eternal nightmare so that he may make his final peace with the Nine. Well, perhaps you should stop trusting the Benerus family, because rejoining his hand with his body has him laugh at how gullible mortals are and ascend to lichdom.
It never fails to amuse shows me how easy mortal man is to manipulate. You've assisted me in completing the very thing Carrihill and his cabal sought to prevent all those years ago. My ascension to immortality. Clashed with mortals, I underestimated their power. I shall not repeat that mistake twice. Live again.
A boss battle with a lich hidden in the very house you purchased makes for a very memorable quest in any Elder Scrolls game. After slaying Lorgren for good, you can return to Velwyn, who apologizes for fleeing and is relieved to put this all behind him. He departs for the Imperial City, and you can now return to a very nice player home. The curse is lifted, and the place is filled with furnishings you didn't have to buy, and you end a very unique quest with an awesome reward. Coming into position number 3, we've got Caught in the Hunt. And while Hircine isn't involved, he would likely approve of the secret operation going on in this quest. The quest begins in the city of Breville, where you hear that Ursan Lucia's husband has gone missing.
I'm sorry to impose upon you like this, but I'm in need of assistance, and I don't know what to do. My husband, Alaron, is missing.
Turns out her husband has quite the gambling problem and began to borrow large sums from a brutish lender to bet on Imperial City arena fights, ending up a massive 500 septims in debt, an amount they have no chance in Oblivion of paying off. This orc lender named Kurdan Grodrigol requested Alaron meet him at the Lonely Suitor Lodge, and Alaron was never seen again. You agree to track down Alaron and are warned that Kurdan is not to be trusted. Going to the inn to meet him yourself, you quickly find out he's not one for company.
None of your damn business. I'd tell you if I liked you, and I don't.
Raising his disposition gets him to open up a little more.
Maybe I know him, maybe I don't. But since you're so interested, I know something that could jar my memory. I just learned that a family heirloom, the Axe of Dragol, which one of my stupid relatives lost, is located on Fort Grief Island in Nibbin Bay.
He explains it's hidden in the main keep at the center and says you should be able to handle whatever's guarding it. If you refuse, he hints that Alaron will be in for a world of pain. Kurdan is kind enough to provide a little boat for you, taking you directly to the fort. Turning a handle device to open the gate, you come face to face with Alaron. Perfect! Time to take him home, if it weren't for the door automatically shutting and trapping you in there. Alaron explains that the Axe of Dragol story is a ruse, used by Kurdan to lure the two of you into an insane hunt. Kurdan may make some coin by lending septims, but it seems his main moneymaker is operating this illegal gauntlet of death known as the Hunter's Run. People pay him for the thrill of hunting and killing human prey, and he takes care of the bodies and keeps the whole thing undercover. It's a shocking discovery and one I didn't expect, despite how untrustworthy Kurdan seemed. Delving deep into Fort Grief has you encounter all kinds of traps, from open spike pits and swinging clubs to poison gas and darts shooting out of the walls. There are also the Hunters. These men each carry a key, the first two being needed to open the final area where the last opponent is. He's a powerful orc hunter with leveled stats and gear, who managed to get a mention in my strongest enemy in Oblivion video, linked below. After leaving with the final key, you return to see Alaron being murdered by Kurdan, and you're unable to prevent it.
I'm impressed that you killed all my clients. Doesn't matter. More will come along with their purses fat with gold and hearts lusting for blood. Too bad about Alaron. Didn't need him anymore now that you're here. At least now he's free of his debt. Do you really think I could afford to let you leave here? The key you found is a fake. No prey has ever left this island alive. And I aim to keep it that way. You were right about one thing, though. This is my game, and I'm changing the rules.
In the battle that ensues, you realize that Kurdan brought back up a kitted up Khajiit sharpshooter named Rajira the Kenai. In my playthrough, Curtin's boots had a water walking enchantment which I thought was really cool, almost as if it was his special method of venturing to and from Fort Grief without a boat. Alaron's devastated wife had always told him that gambling would be the death of him. At least him being avenged gives her some small degree of peace. She gives you a speechcraft skill book, biography of the Wolf Queen, but what did you expect to receive from a woman who literally just lost everything? The real reward was the loot we found along the way. Taking home the silver medal today, we've got a quest arc from a highly ambitious elf who goes by the name of Umbacano. The quests are the Collector, which progresses to nothing you can possess, and finally Secrets of the Aelids. After delving into one of 10 specific Aelid ruins and finding a rare Aelid statue, he decides that you'd be the perfect treasure hunter to add to his decked out payroll. There's more than one way things can begin, but most likely you sell the statue to a merchant because there's nothing else you can do with it, and then it's not long before you're contacted by Jolring, Umbacano's butler. He gives you an invitation to Umbacano Manor, so off you head to see the elf himself. He explains you sold the statue for less than its true worth, and that he'll pay you double for any more you can bring him. It's 500 for each one, and there's an additional 5,000 gold given for finding all 10. The statues are hidden in various Aelid ruins around Cyrodiil, but there's no map markers, outside of the help you get when Umbacano discovers 5 ruin names that may have statues after you find the first 2. Delving through 10 Aelid ruins to get the full reward is actually a choice left up to your discretion, because the quest arc starts to heat up after finding just 3. Umbacano wants you to track down an ancient carving, said to be invaluable for his research on the late Aelid period. Thing is, he doesn't know where it is, only that it's in a ruin once known as the High Fane. He gives you a sketch showing what the ruin looks like, but you learn more when you leave his manor and get approached by a competing treasure hunter he's hired, Claude Marek. Claude invites you for a drink in the hotel nearby, and really emphasizes to you that the High Fane is a dangerous place, but with a bit of smooth talking he'll tell you it's called Malada. A rare book you can purchase called The Cleansing of the Fane also reveals this. Fighting through this ruin, you come across the decorative carving Umbacano wants, and as you take it, the place it rested in lowers as the stone blocks from the wall above fall to the ground, revealing a lich. Leaving the ruin, Claude approaches you again, this time with more violent intentions. It's an ambush, and he's come with 3 mercenary types to help. One awesome thing about this moment is that there's a list of ways it can unfold, including you striking him down where he stands, or giving up the carving peacefully, or quickly attacking him to the point of imminent death and making him surrender, or my favorite, finding his henchmen camping west of the ruin before you enter, and cutting a deal with the Khajiit who is already suspicious of Claude and ready to betray the group for a share of your reward. He later hunts you down if you cheat him too. Umbacano is pleased to see you return and has one final task for you, regardless of whether it was you or Claude who brought back the treasure. He wants you to recover the crown of Nenalata, belonging to the last king of the Aelids. Only problem is that it's in the hands of a rival collector named Herminia Sinner, who refuses to part with it. He says it's her way of getting revenge on him for the differences they've had over the years, but talking to her paints a different picture. Herminia explains that her reluctance to give Umbacano the crown is actually because she fears he has malevolent ambitions. She suspects he plans to bring the powerful magic of the Aelids back to Tamriel. Instead of seeing this evil rise again, she suggests you trick him by bringing him a similar crown from a ruin named Lindai. The crown of Lindai will look close enough to that which he seeks to convince him it's the real thing. Herminia also seems more knowledgeable of the Aelids in general than Umbacano, explaining to you that the last king of the Aelids was one of many Aelid kings and was simply the final one known to history when the rest were driven out of Cyrodiil or killed. To bring him the crown of Nenalata, you'll have to steal it from Herminia's house, but if you recover the crown of Lindai instead, Umbacano simply mentions it not having a particular royal glyph that he expected, but is nevertheless fooled.
To think that I hold the very crown that once graced the brow of the last Aelid king. Even to gaze upon it would have been death to any one of the lesser races in the old days.
Umbacano's last request is that in 3 days you accompany him on a journey into Nenalata, with all the loot in the throne room being yours to keep. Meeting him there, it turns out he brought Claude, though he'll remain professional and won't stab you in the back this time around. Slaughtering the undead in your path and getting to the throne, Umbacano unveils his hidden ambitions.
Here it is, the throne of the last king of the Aelids, and so it falls to me to begin the restoration of our ancient glory. of Suna Tamriel, Octavoy, and Apen Aran Malaboro.
Umbacano is killed by the magic within the ruin if wearing the wrong crown, but the correct crown sees him rise up in some kind of vampiric state and attack. After killing him and the rest of the undead who reveal themselves, you're free to take what you wish and leave. It's a super fun quest with memorable moments and a few different options on how you approach particular situations. And finally, we come to our most highly rated side quest in Oblivion, and I must say it was very tough to pick a winner. Introducing one of the most unsettling quests in the entire Elder Scrolls series, A Shadow over Hackdirt. It begins inside the safe walls of Coral, where an Argonian by the name of Dharma approaches you. She asks if you're new in town and is just glad to say hello. It's an innocent, friendly interaction, and one that doesn't carry weight until you leave Coral and return at least a couple of days later. Rumor around town is that Dharma has gone missing, so you head to her mother's general goods store to ask what on Nirn has happened. Her mother explains that Dharma made a delivery in her place as she wasn't feeling too well. Dharma embarked for the village of Hackdirt with her beloved horse Blossom and still hasn't returned. Her mother describes Hackdirt as rather isolated and explains she does some business with a trader there named Atira Moslin. She's incredibly fearful for her daughter, so of course you agree to find her. Hackdirt is an extremely creepy place, despite having many of the trappings of a regular town. There's an inn, a church, different houses that the residents live in, and a general goods store. What is immediately strange is that there are plenty of burnt out buildings around the place, though it's not until you start interacting with the extremely inhospitable inhabitants of Hackdirt that the truly odd nature of the town becomes obvious.
I got nothing to say to you, stranger. Outsiders have always tried to destroy us, but we've always survived.
This man, Natch, followed me around everywhere, appearing in my face blankly staring at me every time I left a building or even a room. Was this a glitch? I'm not sure. The town just has a way of putting you on edge, but it's this atmosphere that helps make the quest so good. But maybe their hatred towards outsiders is somewhat justified.
Outsiders came and burned our town years ago. Ruined us. But we'll get ours back one day soon.
Similarly to Natch, Marlena would often find herself standing very close to me, glaring at me with absolute disgust. If you really want to make the residents mad, so much so that they threaten you, you can ask about the mysterious topic, the Hackdirt Brethren.
One day you'll find out who the Brethren are and you'll be sorry. Oh yes.
This hostile attitude seeps into almost every conversation topic, including the missing Argonian, who they deny knowing anything about. The shopkeeper, Atira Moslin, goes as far as saying she wants half off her next delivery because that cursed Argonian swindler from Coral never showed up. Interestingly, you can find Dharma's horse, Blossom, near one of the burnt-out buildings, though asking Atira about it has her assert that the horse belongs to her. Let's investigate the inn. Like many of the buildings of Hackdirt, it's quite run down inside, and there's an eerie vibe about everything. I mean, if you break into Moslin's private room, you'll find a table with a serving of bone meal on it in front of a plate with a knife and fork ready on either side. This innkeeper, Vlanhonda Moslin, can tell you his grandfather, Erlav, built Hackdirt long ago, and that they have plans to bring back the good old days, whatever that means. However, renting a room for the night is something he didn't seem quite ready for, nor particularly excited about. He'll charge you 30 gold, a steep price for a bed in Oblivion, for you to stay in what could be the least comfortable room in the game. Searching this room for signs of Dharma, you discover her diary, which explains how Blossom threw a shoe on the way, making her late. No one in the town would greet her, despite there being light coming from the shop's upstairs window. She stayed the night at the inn and felt incredibly spooked, but decided to be brave and not leave due to fears her mother wouldn't let her do deliveries again if she expressed concern. Confronting the inn owner, who previously claimed to know nothing, has him suddenly remember her, referring to her as the Argonian wench and saying that she stayed and then left. He'll become quite infuriated if you keep asking about it.
How would I know? Maybe she went crazy and run off into the woods. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got things to do.
If you dare sleep in the bed you've paid for, you'll wake up to find a bare-chested, large-eyed man ready to attack you. He's wielding a club and seems to have limited vocabulary. This is a hackdirt brethren, and despite killing him, the rest of the town will ignore the entire thing and continue to warn you to stop asking about the brethren. Maybe the church has something to do with these brethren. Searching it won't lead to the location of Dharma, but it will further confirm that something is truly off about hackdirt. There is a Bible you can read devoted not to the divines, but to a mysterious entity known as the Deep Ones. Daedric text fills the pages of the book, which is actually a translation of the slow text Nagasta Kvarta Kvarkis. It appears it was written by Erlav, founder of hackdirt, and there's also Tamrielic text which reads, "Given to me by the chief of the Deep Ones, he taught me his language and his runes. This is the ancient law of his people which we shall follow from now until forever, signed in the presence of 12 witnesses." That said, there is one local, Jiv Hiriel, who will actually offer to help.
Shh. We can't talk here. They'll get suspicious. The girl is in danger. Meet me tonight after dark in my house. I'll leave the door unlocked. Don't be late.
Jiv's wooden house is located on the edge of the village, and once inside he reveals that Dharma has in fact been captured by the inhabitants of Hackdirt and is being held captive in an expansive cavern system beneath the town. He has to hurry off to some gathering before he's missed, but explains that Dharma is going to be sacrificed in an attempt to bring back the Deep Ones. These entities are demanding blood, and while Jiv thought he wanted to bring back the Deep Ones, Dharma's innocence has him questioning himself. He says the Deep Ones were originally found by the grandfathers of the town while digging in the mines. They helped make them rich, but the price was blood, and worse. All the residents of the town worship these Deep Ones, and venture down into the caverns after midnight to pray to these entities. Jiv gives you a key to the caverns, which can be accessed through trapdoors found in every resident's house. There's even a trapdoor outside. He recommends using the trapdoor in the inn, as it is closest to where Dharma is being held. Down in the caverns, you find her locked in a cell, which you can unlock with the key on the stool in front of it. You can simply take her out the way you came for an easy exit, and if you're stealthy enough, you may avoid provoking the Hackdirt Brethren, who are more numerous than the townsfolk themselves. Their massive eyes stay vigilant as they patrol the caverns, making this dreadful sniffing sound as they detect your presence. Jiv says they're the people who changed the most and live down in the caverns to avoid sunlight and to be closer to the Deep Ones. Escorting Dharma out of the caverns and to her horse, you will be able to travel back to Coral with her and reunite her with her mother, who is over the moons with gratitude and rewards you with +5 to the mercantile skill. If you ever go back to Hackdirt, some residents may even attack you, and more brethren emerge from the deep in an attempt to purge you from Nirn for what you have done. It is one of the most unsettling quests in any Elder Scrolls game, and I certainly can't help but rank it in position number 1 today. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our top 5 side quests in the Elder Scrolls for Oblivion. Remember that we didn't include Daedric Prince quests or DLC or faction quests and of course main quests in this one. Let me know your favorite side quests in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching as always. We really appreciate all of the support we're seeing on the channel, and we'd love for you to find us on Twitter using the social media links below if you're interested in more FudgeMuppet goodness. My name is Michael, thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to nerding out with you again very soon.